My name is Gerald Lawless, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you here this morning. And thanks again for your attendance here. We have three different panel discussions, which the first one will be very short, which is difficult for an Irishman to do everything in 15 minutes, but I will do my best with two very interesting speakers. So first of all, we have Nick Meyer from PwC, in charge of Middle East, North Africa, online. He is so busy all the time in Saudi Arabia, but thank you very much for joining us this morning, Nick. We're very pleased to have you here. And a namesake, Nicolas, known as Nick Maclean, who will now join us on stage. If you wouldn't mind, please coming up. Thanks very much, Nick. So after we have finished our 15-minute session, thank you very much, Ibrahim, for doing it in such a short space of time. We then have a panel discussion, increasing the correlation between resilience, sustainability, and investment in travel and tourism. And we have a really interesting panel, which will be introduced by Samir Hashimi after we have finished our first session. And then at 11:30, we have a conversation about women in tourism. And we're really looking forward to that. I think having worked in the industry for so many years, we were always very proud to say that at least 50% of our executives, particularly in the companies that I was involved in, were actually female. So I'm used to having women as my boss, and we look forward very much to talking a bit further about that in an hour and a quarter's time. So if I may, I'd like to start straight away with Nicolas Maclean. And we've had a few discussions about what we would like to talk about. And I know that we're also interested in how we are reinvesting, how we are investing in the industry. And Nicolas is in charge from CBRE, major company internationally. So rather than waste any more time with me talking, Nick, I'd ask you to please, if you would inform us what your major issues are within the industry at the moment.
Gerald, thank you very much indeed. And it's tremendous to see such attendance at ATM this year, I think breaking all records. Gerald and I and Nick had a conversation about some of the opportunities which exist within the travel market through the region. And from my perspective, one of the roles that CBRE fulfills is transporting external capital into this market and exporting that capital elsewhere around the world. And what we have said is that one of the key asset classes which is attracting a special interest at the moment, particularly here in the GCC, is the opportunity for investors to invest into the hospitality sector. And so we have a situation, particularly from Asia Pacific, where there are significant amount of capital targeting the acquisition of operational assets at the moment. What we also see, however, to accompany that statistic is that some of the owners of the real estate, having had offers to buy their real estate, are looking at the operational effectiveness of their assets. So another key part of our hotels consultancy at the moment is looking at the profitability and effectiveness of operators within elsewhere owned real estate. So our team at the moment is incredibly busy across the GCC, of course in the UAE, especially Dubai, and especially for new projects in Saudi Arabia.
Thank you very much, Nicolas. I mean, it really is interesting to know. We see the huge expansion of the industry, well over 140,000 keys in Dubai. Nick Meyer is going to talk to us later about the phenomenon, I would say, of tourism development in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And I mean, do you see us being able to continue this investment? We hear on the radio this morning concerns about delivery of aircraft. I mean, we know that Air India have ordered 470 new aircraft since the Tata company rebought Indian Airlines. But will the companies be able to deliver? Will we be able to get enough pilots within the hotel industry? Can we get enough people to work so that we can actually deliver on the demand that we believe will continue to grow?
From an investment perspective, one of the interesting comparisons between the GCC markets and some of the overseas markets is that the investment profile of people investing into this market is much more long-term than some, particularly the European market at the moment. And so what we see is, regardless of what the performance indicators are in 2023, the investors that we are speaking to have huge faith in the growth in this marketplace. So regardless of short-term difficulties with the delivery platforms, the aircraft as it were, they believe in these markets very long-term for a substantial part of their future investment. So whatever the issues the market sees at the moment, that's not putting off investors from overseas.
And on the financial side, then, how do you see the impact of interest rates and lending rates? Will we be able to sustain the kind of levels that we've now experienced over the last 12 to 18 months?
I'm going to make a very gross generalization now. Most of the buyers that we see coming into this market are, at least in the first instance, cash buyers. So the interest rate is something which is not affecting their decision to buy. So put it crudely, there are people who want a piece of the GCC market, particularly the Dubai market at the moment, regardless of the cost, again, which is a reflection of where they believe values are going to go over the next few years or so.
But they'll still be running the return on investment on their IRRs on the basis of what the lending rates are too. That will be a factor.
Yes, and we have very sophisticated investors looking at this marketplace, and we have less sophisticated investors who are buying by the, as it were, by the seat of their pants. And they're both coming to the same conclusion, that the long-term prospects for returns on their capital are extremely good.
Thank you very much. So I think that's a good segue, as they used to say, into talk to Nick Meyer about how you see the evolution, development, the investment continuing, and the whole sustainability, not climate change sustainability, but sustainability of the business model of what's happening in Saudi Arabia. So we'd love to hear from you, Nick, please.
No, with pleasure. Look, it's an amazing time to be active in tourism sector in the kingdom, in the region in general, and in the kingdom. And to the point that Nicolas has just made, right? So Nick has just made. So as this interest in hospitality assets, I mean, hotels exist in an ecosystem of touristic offers. So what is happening here in the kingdom, of course, is it is not just an acceleration of the rollout of hotel assets, of keys, of rooms, but of the creation of entire destinations, which then of course entails a number of different asset classes, whether they be in entertainment, whether they be in human capacity building, whether they be in experiences. So, and we're seeing very much the same. There's humongous interest, there is strong progress, and to your point on sustainability, what is so wonderful about the touristic development agendas in the region here, whether it is the UAE, the Kingdom, in Qatar, and Oman, is that the tourism industry is considered as a transformational industry to basically better the conditions for the citizens and the residents. So when you, for example, have investment discussions in the kingdom, for example, around touristic investments, the question of how will this sustainably deliver into my communities, to my people, into my supply chains, into my local supplier base, into the creation of good jobs, that is almost always very much front and center. And it is probably difficult to actually make a good investment case here without having a good answers of how that will be absorbed into the overall value proposition. And the wonderful thing, of course, here in the region also is that investors are warmly welcomed if they have a viewpoint on this one and get support, whether that be enabling, sometimes financial, sometimes just access. But what we're really seeing here, and that's why it is so beautiful to work here at the moment, is a convergence of sustainability goals and investment return goals. And certainly for the case of the kingdom, we are only just in the early stages and observing a very strong acceleration of that trend.
A little bit difficult to hear everything you're saying. I hope you can hear okay within the audience. But obviously it interests an awful lot to understand and appreciate as well the number of Saudi nationals, for example, who will be joining the workforce. And can you give us any insights on that and what it actually means for the young people of Saudi Arabia?
Of course, first and foremost, it means wonderful careers. And I think it's very important that we set this up here in the kingdom as careers rather than jobs. And that is the case currently. Now, a lot of efforts are being made and will continue to have been made. I would say that Saudi Arabia has historically not had the educational, I would say, workbench to produce in large numbers future hospitality professionals. That is changing right now, and the goal must be, of course, to bring attractive job propositions and career propositions to these young Saudis. It is wonderful because a lot of these jobs, of course, arise in the regions, which allows many of the Saudi talent to stay engaged with their ecosystem in the regional areas. And of course, it is one that goes beyond hospitality in all aspects. So whether it be tour operating, whether it be travel tech, whether it be food and beverage and culinary. So it is a rich body of professions that are being made available. Now, what of course also is a reality is this is not the only industry in the kingdom that is currently experiencing near exponential growth. So as a sector, if we are to want to be active in the kingdom, we need to continue being attractive. So we are very quickly leapfrogging into a mature tourism market, but we're also leapfrogging into all the challenges that our industry has internationally, which is we need to be clear and create modern professions that are attractive to people to join us, rather than saying I am going to go into banking or into retail or into government, etc. So it's going to be a large mass effort, wonderful professions, but we need to be very modern in the professions that we offer to our young talent.
I would say a very welcome challenge within the industry is that we have more vacancies than we perhaps have enough people right now to join the industry, yes. And particularly the educational Indeed. Side is so important. But we've seen massive change already within Saudi Arabia with young people working at all levels within the hotels and within the industry. So I know we're very short in time, so I would just ask Nicolas Maclean to give us just a wrap up from your perspective of how you see the development of the economics of the industry.
I think one of the most important factors which is demonstrated at this conference this week is the social engineering impact of tourism. And it just doesn't have, going back to Nick's point about employment, I think all sectors, all professions are struggling at the moment with the depth of the labor pool, both in the UAE in particular and Saudi. And so the industry has got to be very competitive. But the engineering, the transportation, the catalyst that tourism has to the societal change through the region can't be underestimated. And that change itself is a catalyst for economic development here. So we are very excited about the opportunity for my business to be involved in consultation in respect to the growth of tourism and hospitality.
Thank you very much, Nick. And Nick Meyer, would you just like to wrap up?
Yes, very much the same message. I think we are seeing here a further acceleration of not just a larger tourism sector, but a very different tourism sector. This is truly a touristic renaissance that is happening here in the GCC, in the UAE and in the kingdom. And with that are challenges. We have wonderful stakeholders here that address these challenges very competently, but the outlook is tremendously bullish, and we will see some tremendously exciting things happening across the region over the next 5 to 10 years.
Thank you very much. And I would say as well that we really are fortunate to be in this industry, to see how it is developing. And I would also suggest it's not just a reaction to the pandemic that everybody wants to travel, but actually everybody always wants to travel, and great that they can enjoy it, particularly throughout the Middle East region. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.